This is how ridiculous these people are. They somehow think I'm supposed to come back to camp. Oh, it's just a game. Hey, we're just having fun here. And so I'm like, what, are you kidding me right now? Like, I have the right to be angry.
As much as I hate to say it, you can't take it like Jonas. He took it like a man, you know?
Right.
And he deserves to be here more than maybe you.
I don't know about that.
He worked his ass off here every single day, and he took it like a man.
Right. These girls are kind of acting like what a lot of women act like in real life. They get their house, they get their food, they get all their stuff. Then as soon as they feel satisfied, they go, oh, guess what? We don't need you no more. You're done. We're done with the guy.
Could Survivor do a modern day Battle of the Sexes season? This topic was picked by my patrons, and the short answer is sure, but should they do a modern day Battle of the Sexes season? What are the consequences of this decision in the modern day? That is where things get complicated. Keep in mind, this video is my analysis on the subject, and I would love to read your all's thoughts on whether Survivor could pull this off or not successfully down in the comments. Let's have a respectful discussion. For context, Survivor has done Battle of the Sexes 3 times, though they dabbled in the idea a 4th time, but they quickly abandoned it after 1 episode. All 3 times they actually stuck with it have produced results that I personally don't think the show is pleased with. Season 6, the Amazon saw so many sexist comments made as jokes. It was very much of its time in 2003, with Jenna Maraska winning the entire thing in a very underwhelming fashion. At least that's how the story portrayed it. They constantly painted their winner as weak, and when Jeff was asked to rank the seasons back in the day, a lot of his focus on was how did the winners do in each season, and for Jenna, the only thing he could bring up is that she went topless for peanut butter and chocolate. Yep, that's what he liked. Could you imagine modern Survivor making someone go topless for food? Yeah, me neither. Season 9 Vanuatu took place in 2004 and is by far the best of the 3 times they have done men versus women. But even then, the winner ended up being very much hated by the host and now showrunner of Survivor, Jeff Probst, due to him knocking out Jeff's love interest in Julie Berry. Jeff even took up 2/3 of the live reunion just to bash Chris and make a point about how much he sucks to everyone, including Chris's fiance at the time, about how he is a liar in and out of the game of Survivor. I mean, wow. Then Survivor does this twist for like 1 episode in season 12. The older ladies lose 1 member. That's it. And the twist is abandoned the very next episode. So most people, including myself, don't count this time. But then it lays dormant for a while until Survivor has a cool idea. What if 2 tribes lived on the same beach at the same time, starting in episode 1? Amazing. It's actually a super cool twist. They call it One World. But then the show is worried, rightfully so, that its audience would be confused as to who is on which tribe if they're living on the same beach. Like, is that person on that? It's hard to tell. Despite the colored clothing and the colored buffs, I could see how that would get confusing with them interacting with each other. So they decided, let's make this simple. 1 tribe is men, 1 tribe is women. Almost like they didn't want to do men versus women. It just happened to work to make this twist of One World happen, if that makes sense. But despite the sense it makes, the casting of this entire season is so lame. The worst of the 3 men versus women seasons by far, to the point that One World is often considered one of the worst seasons of all time, let alone of these 3 seasons. Again, like in season 6, sexist comments are abound, and the hero, the guy we're supposed to be rooting for on the men's tribe, is the one saying a lot of sexist comments about women. It doesn't really hold up, if that makes sense. So since season 24, this idea has been laid to rest. I mean, it was only resurrected that season because they needed to make that twist happen and for it to make sense, not because they really wanted to do men versus women. So could or even should Survivor dig this idea up out of its grave and bring it back for the modern day? By the way, you can tell me what videos I make on this channel. The patrons on Patreon picked this video and you can too. You will also gain the benefit of watching everything up to several months early. If you are interested, then there's a link in the description. Thank you for your support. This is how we don't have sponsorships in our videos, your patronage. Now with that, the years of the previous men versus women seasons airing on television were 2003, 2004, and 2012. We are now well over a decade past the last one that flopped so hard, and a lot has changed in the general public in regards to sex and gender. Non-binary and different gender identifications are now normalized to the point that I believe there is not a scenario where Survivor does a strictly men versus women season. That is not happening. I cannot see that happening. It would be viewed as boxing these people into 2 categories, on a season, and then that would cause a backlash against people who do not agree with that stance. Plus, Survivor's kind of already crossed the barrier of casting transgender players, so them going backwards would not make sense. I couldn't see them doing that, which means that if they did decide to do a Battle of Sexes format, it would probably be 3 tribes and be more Battle of the Genders, if that makes sense. I know, what a shocker, 3 tribes, that they've been doing that the whole time, but it would be Battle of the Genders. It would be men versus women versus non-binary. And boy, oh boy, would that be a mess in the fandom. Some would love it, sure, but let's be real, there would be so much fighting in the fan base. But why, you may ask? Maybe you're not in tune with where Survivor is right now or what's happened in the past few years. Well, let's give some context and something, in my opinion, is much more minor than if they do a men versus women versus non-binary season. In 2021, at the beginning of Survivor 41, Jeff changed his iconic "come on in, guys" phrase to just "come on in," dropping the guys, which would have gone almost unnoticed if he just did it and didn't make a point about it. Like, he made it a whole moment on TV. It took a lot of the episode's airtime. It was nonsense, let's put it that way. He got on a soapbox, he made it a whole thing. It was too much. And in him doing so, he divided the fan base in a way I have never seen before. He has since gone on record that this was the wrong move, not him changing the phrase. He still thinks that was the right call, but now he realizes that he went about it the wrong way because a fellow celebrity told him that it being a soapbox moment was the incorrect call. So why is this moment so important? Well, to this day, people still bring up this minor change on social media all the time. In fact, when I talk to people in person, they still bring it up and I'm like, really? We're still going on about this? It's still one of the most liked comments, if not the most liked comment on every Survivor social media post. Literally, I just went and checked. It's the number 2 most liked comment on the post. I mean, come on, guys. Literally, the most liked comment, or one of the most liked comments right now on the post I just checked as I'm making this video, is "come on in, guys, should come back," in quotes. We're still going on about this. This change was 7 seasons ago and people still like this. They still think this should change. They're still on about this. So when that change was made in Survivor 41, by the way, coming off a year and a half of no Survivor, coming off of Winners at War, a much beloved season, Survivor 41 premiered with 6.25 million people watching, and its final episode ended on 3.99. Yeah, they lost that much viewership in one season, all because of, and it's not just that moment. The whole season had a lot more moments. That was just kind of like the figurehead, the catalyst, the beginning of the end in a lot of people's minds about what was happening. But let's zoom out. Forget Battle of the Sexes. Survivor has not done a seasonal theme since Winners at War, which was back in 2019 when they filmed it. And it seems to me and many others that the new budget era of Survivor is more about positivity than any other era of the show. And pitting sexes against each other would kind of go against the current storytelling philosophy or producing of the show. I am unsure why, as themes are greatly appreciated and give each season more flavor, but for some reason, Jeff claimed on his podcast that this is too hard to do. It is too hard to come up with themes for seasons, he says, despite having done it for mostly good results over 20 years in 40 seasons. So could Survivor do a men versus women versus non-binary season? Sure, I think they could do it, but should they? Kind of like that line in Jurassic Park, like you could do this, but should you have done it, you know? Do they really want to deal with the inevitable consequences of whatever path they choose? My analysis is that they would get ripped to shreds from a group of people. It doesn't matter which group of people, just somebody's going to rip them to shreds for this decision. So why even bother doing it? What is the reward, right? It's such a big risk, and what's the reward? It's unknown. And at the rate network TV is losing viewers, Survivor's still number 1 in its slot on Wednesday, but it's been bleeding viewers for years and years and years and years. I simply cannot see this as a smart decision for the show. I don't think they would ever do it. And if they did, it's because we've all agreed, like the general public agrees on one consensus, and I don't think the consensus will ever be just men versus women again. I think that if they were to revisit themes, they want to do themes again that they've already done. Blood versus water, a great theme, would have a lot of positivity with drama. One World, in fact, combine the two, blood versus water, One World would be top notch. Or second chances, those would be much better to bring back than another Battle of the Sexes, which really didn't even work out that well the first 3 times. It was kind of a mess. I mean, it was okay, but ultimately, Survivor clearly wasn't that in love with it. So what do you think? Comment below and let me know. Thank you for watching, and doubly thanks for liking and subscribing. I'll see you all next time.